This is a quick video to show you how water moves across the root. My students made this little model which I've kept, and I think it's a really good way to understand the process of water movement from the soil into the xylem vessels or xylem tissue in the root. So this is a cross section of the root. If we think of the pink as the cell membrane, so if we look at the epidermis, which is this layer here, we've got an outgrowth here, which is a root hair, obviously usually a lot longer than that. But you can see that outside you've got the cell wall and inside you've got the cell membrane, which is represented by that pink, the pink layer. Okay, and then the same as we go in, we've got the cortex layer, which is just a lot of packing cells which sort of make up the bulk of the root. And then eventually we get to this endodermis, which is really important in the regulation of water uptake. And the endodermis, it also has the pink cell wall inside, as you can see, but it also has this Casparian strip, which is represented by the rubber bands, which are impermeable. They just should all join together in a line. And then towards the inside, obviously, we've got our phloem, cambium, and xylem tissue. So remember, we have our two routes of water flow, the apoplast route, which is diffusion through the cell wall and also between the cells. So if we just focus on the apoplast route, water in the soil, between the soil particles, will diffuse into the cell wall. So it'll move along the cell wall, and also once it gets to the epidermis and the cortex, it will actually move between those little gaps as well, between the cell walls. So it's moving through the cell walls, between the gaps, and it will move quite quickly as well. So that's the apoplast route. But when it gets to the endodermis, it will get sort of to this point here, but then it can't move any further because this band goes right through to the other side of the cell wall. So it stops and it's forced to follow the symplast route. It will then go inside the cell, across the semi-permeable membrane, which is the pink, and inside the cell. And at that point, it's really slowed down. If we think about the symplast route, that also occurs from the soil water. So this time in the soil water, it goes into the cell wall and then in across that cell membrane on the inside and into the centre of the cell, and then just travels through the centre of the cells. That's osmosis. And when it gets obviously to the endodermis, it just continues because it's already inside the cell and travelling across the cell wall and the semi-permeable membrane. So you've got your two routes into the xylem tissue. Once we get, so the key thing to understand is the endodermis really controls and regulates what is allowed to get into the xylem tissue. That's all you really need to know. All you need to then say is it then enters the xylem tissue. You don't need to know any kind of routes across here. It will be apoplast and symplast route again, but you just need to say that it then enters the xylem tissue. I think that is all there is to say. I hope that diagram's helped. I'm going to upload it to YouTube so you can access it.